Welcome back to Carnage Unleashed. I am Kev. With me, as always, are my two co hosts and commentary buddies, Wade, co founder of Carnage Media, and Clayton Scalina from Hot Take Sports. Gentlemen, it's been too long since I've seen you. How we doing, Clayton? We'll start with you.
Hey, I'm doing good, Kev. Christian McCaffrey's carrying my fantasy football team. We had a great night of fights last Saturday. UFC's back this weekend. I'm excited. Having a good week so far.
That's good. That's good. How about you, Wade? My sports weekend hasn't been so great, so I won't talk about it. How's yours been?
So yeah, my fantasies are kind of struggling with a lot of injuries. I think at one league I have like 3 IR, so I'm not doing well either. So other than that, we had great fights this weekend. It was a long weekend and very successful weekend. So thank you all who supported. Thank you guys for commentating. I got to get a little view of your guys' job.
How'd you like it?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Definitely, I see the behind the scenes and stuff that goes into it, and I respect you guys a lot more for that because I think I stumbled over my words a couple times. So,
hey, it ain't the falling down; it's the staying down, as they say. You watch enough pay-per-views, you watch enough stuff on television. The greatest, every single one of them. I've heard Bob Costas flub a line, pick your guy. It's just about all right. I usually like to lean into it. My go-to joke of choice is easy for me to say, just say, oh, yep, blah, 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 got it all messed up there. But, you just keep going, make a joke about it, pivot, do something. But wait, I thought you did a great job. Clayton, what did you think? I mean, I know he's the boss, but other than that, off the record, we're not live or anything. You can tell me, you can be honest.
Right. So Kev, just between you and me, no, I'm just kidding. I actually thought you did a really good job. You were your knowledge base, obviously, like with your kind of wrestling, and you've trained before. Your training background definitely helped. And the only nervous part was we had a couple guys going to the ropes right in front of us. But other than that, dude,
there's like 3 times they almost came in on us.
This is one of the closest they've come. They'll come in. They'll come into the ropes on boxing cards sometimes. Normally they'll pop right back up, but not Saturday.
Yeah. Absolutely. It almost got Kev a little excited, got some wrestling action. Going through tables.
I know, man. They were ready. Not only that, but I'm also a big Rocky fan. And so if you remember, they've mimicked some old school boxing knockouts where they've had guys fall through the ropes. So I was like, I could hear the bum ba da da ba ba. So I could hear those horns swelling. Gonna Fly
a couple
Now.
Times I put my hands up like I was gonna catch him or something with one hand.
Oh, we had all the action. And don't worry, guys, we're gonna go over the card from beginning to end today. We've got some highlights lined up from some of those knockouts, those finishes that we had at Carnage Fight Series 3. And yes, we will have the Wrestling Minute again at some point in the program. Some major news in the world of wrestling that also will tickle that nostalgia bone. But let's get into Carnage Fight Series, shall we, gentlemen? Now, Wade, this is your baby, you and our co-founder, Zach. So before we go through the card, for those who missed it, do you want to give them a little breakdown about what this was? Because I saw an announcement earlier on social media today. I believe CFS 4 is going to be following in CFS 3's footsteps. So why don't we take a minute and talk about it, and then we'll break down the card as everything went down.
So for those of you that don't know, we did something a little different this time, and we did a 145 and a 155 pound tournament where they both fought twice in one night. So they fought first round early in the card, and then the winners of each one fought on the co-main and co-main. Kev.
Thank you.
So they fought again, and there's a lot of factors that played into that, and we had a surprising little twist in this card. We started off with 13 fights. So with every promotion, you got people falling off. So it kind of sucked. There's one person got COVID, another guy chickened out. There ain't no other way to say it. He chickened out. He signed up for it and then was trying to tell us that he didn't sign up for it, and we never told him he was on the card. And we had facts. We had the tickets. We had the receipts. So he will never fight on our card again. So, and then we had another guy came into the weigh-ins, even had the face off and everything. And we're like, hey, we should be back by 5. And an hour later, he's like, oh, I was lightly sparring and I hurt my toe. You deal with it. But we had 9 killer fights out of it, though. So we can jump right into it. But it was fire. It just kept building and building and building. And we're like, how does it get better from the first fight on?
It's true. We kept saying that after about 3 or 4 fights. We're like, okay, how is it going to continue to escalate? And you mentioned some of the hardships we had coming into it. I'm not saying it just to say it. It all kind of worked out the way it needed to, right? There was something about the original plan was not to have 2 title fights. So now which we'll get into when we get into the fights. There was an unfortunate injury during the fight. So that part, I want to say with the asterisk, and I said things worked out the way they needed to. I'm not talking about that whatsoever. That's disappointing, but we do have that spot saved. So we will talk about it here in a second. But as far as people dropping out and us actually having 3 title fights and setting up, I thought it was a very electrifying card. The 9 fights, it moved very quickly due to some of the highlights, some of the finishes. But no, I think it was the best one. I know I've only been doing this. We've almost hit my first birthday as a fighting commentator. So it's not like I've been long for this world, but that was the best pay-per-view card that I've called so far. Clayton, what about you?
Oh, I would agree, Kev. Right after the show, I came up to you and I was like, man, this is definitely my favorite card that I've ever worked. Just from start to finish, the concept of the tournaments, the finishes that we did get, some of the super close fights. There was one really close split decision that we'll talk about, but it was just action from start to finish. Really, there were no boring fights. The crowd was great. The fighters really wanted to be there. Everyone was excited. It was just a great night. Plus, I got to commentate in a different state for the first time, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, checking off those items off the old career bucket list. So yeah, we've talked a little bit about this great night, and here we go. We've got our first comment from one of the fighters, the real Street Jesus, Marcelino Rangel. We will have some highlights from his fight on this show tonight, have some highlights from some of our other fights as well. So be sure to stay tuned if you want to see that. It's exclusive right here on Carnage Media. Marcelino says Jack Chappie deserves knockout of the night and potential knockout of the year. Well, Lino is in luck, at least as far as seeing that knockout again, because we've got that highlight queued up. I've got it ready, hot off the presses, queued up in the studio. Before we dive into the card, you guys, what do you think about Lino's comment here? I know Jack, 16 years old.
16 years old. Debut.
Man.
Yeah. He just pressure. That's all I can say is pressure.
we'll dive into it. We'll save some more of it for when we get to highlight his fight then, because we can just talk about it. We'll pull that highlight up. But yeah, in a word, pressure was phenomenal. And pressure would have been another word that you could have used in our very first fight. We had Jason Thompson versus Rex Hoffel. Reckless Rex. See, easy for me to say, pal. See how I did that? Jason Thompson, he kept coming forward. This was a great fight, Clayton. I'll hand it to you. What were your takeaways from our opening fight of the night? Ton of pressure for these guys. They have to set the tone for the tournament, knowing that if they win, they have a second fight. We talked about that stuff. How did you think they handled it, and what were your takeaways from the first bout?
Yeah, like you said, Kev, Jason Thompson reminded me a lot of Tyler Traxler in this fight. Just kind of I'm going to come forward, I'm going to walk you down, and you're going to have to figure it out. He was coming forward the whole time. Rex was a little more technical, but he threw some power shots too. He knocked him down a couple times, especially in that second round. That second round was pretty much Rex all the way, but Jason stayed in there, man, and he put on another great show in the third round. Both guys really got after it the whole time. Like I said, just a ton of action on this card, but Rex ultimately walked away with the victory via decision, and it was the right call. But great performance by both guys. I really hope Jason comes back, and I hope that Rex comes. Well, we'll get to what happened to Rex the rest of the night, but I hope to see Jason again. He was a lot of fun to watch.
I agree, Jason. I hope we get to see him in contesting for this title or on the short list. At least get to see him on another Carnage Fight Series card. What about you, Wade? What were your thoughts on the first bout?
Oh yeah, I thought it was great. Jason, I would love to have him back for another card. Yeah, he started off first round just pressure, like you said. That's a perfect word. He came in and he was in Rex's face. That first round, Rex had to kind of figure out him in the first round. He was very technical, and then when the second round came, like Clayton said, that Rex kind of figured him out and was catching those openings. But Jason, he was taking them and coming right back. He never stopped, even though in that second round he was getting a little pieced up with the ones and twos and Rex's movement. And yeah, Rex was fluid. Like I said the commentating that night, he's like a surfer boy kind of. He gives me that island boy, smooth, like yeah. So and he showed it. He was very mobile and very technical and loose.
Yeah, did
So
a great
Jason,
job of connecting on big hits while backing away from the pressure.
yeah.
That was one of the things that stuck out to me. Some of those hooks, they were nice. Sorry, Clayton, I think I stepped on you there, though. What were you saying?
What? No, you're good. I was just saying how that's exactly how you want to start a card off, is with a fight like that. Lots of action, guys throwing some heavy shots both ways. Super entertaining fight, and overall, yeah, no complaints. Jason looked good, but Rex ultimately just got the better of him.
Yeah, Jason, he had a lot of heart, and
He did.
he showed he wanted it. So because he kept pressure all 3 rounds. So yeah, I'd love to have him back. He had an exciting fight.
Absolute warrior, kept his foot on the gas for an impressive first fight. And as we alluded to already, it didn't slow down at all with our second fight between Preston Weicker and Connor Smith. Uh, Wade, we'll boomerang it this time. We'll start with you. What was your takeaway in Connor versus Preston in bout number 2?
Yeah, Connor versus Preston. That was I couldn't say it enough. Connor jumping up 2 weight classes. Kudos to him. He's got a lot of heart and he's young, so he's got to do that and just get that kind of experience, and especially in the tournament style. Like he fights at 125 and he jumped up to 145 to compete in this tournament. So I thank him for that. And very impressive in that first fight. Very impressive. He was taking. I feel like he was baiting in for some baiting to get some kicks in, and then he would just unload body head, and I mean that game plan worked from that first round.
Yeah, he always does a great job of changing those eye levels. We've seen it before in some of our boxing matches as well. Clayton, what about you? What did you think about Connor versus Preston?
Pretty much the same thing as Wade. You know, jumping up 2 weight classes is hard physically, but mentally, like, those guys are cutting weight to make 45, and like you're not cutting any weight. But we also talked to Connor a little bit, and he said, yeah, man, I feel great. Ate breakfast this morning. I didn't have to cut any weight. So there's definitely advantages to going up. And I think he took advantage of those. Connor really likes to set up that left hand. That's where he found a lot of success, was trying to set up that left hand. And it was crazy because of how much bigger Preston was than him.
Yeah.
Yep. Noticeably bigger from where we were sitting, and we're ringside. We get the best seats in the house. That's part of being on the commentary team, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was great show.
Overall, I was very impressed with Connor. He did a great job and won another tough fight. Like you said, Kev, the foot did not come off the gas pedal for sure.
No, it definitely did not. And before we move to fight 3, we actually have a question from the audience. Thank you, Zach. He wants to go back to our first fight, so I figured we'd do this now before we move too far along. He said, do you think if Jason didn't get knocked down in the second, would he have won the fight? So that's a good question, and we talked about that a lot on the live stream. At times, you know, we talk about big flurries at the end of rounds. We talk about knockdowns and how those can, basically what we're talking about is those little moments, brief moments outside that 2-minute period that are lasting with the judge. So Clayton, we'll start with you this time. What do you think? If that knockdown doesn't happen, does the fight go differently, or do you think it wouldn't have been a difference maker?
Really, when I think about that, there's two ways you could look at it. The first way is potentially no. Rex really was the more technical fighter, I would say. He had no problem really landing that 1-2, landed a lot of body kicks, that kind of thing. Maybe it wouldn't have made a difference. But at the same time, if Jason didn't get knocked down, he was controlling the center of the ring pretty much the whole time. That's something that judges will look for. He was the one coming forward. He was the aggressor. And those are two big things in the judge's eyes. The first round was close. I think the second round definitely went to Rex. And the third round was a little bit more competitive too. So it's tough to say. It really is.
Yeah, I think it comes down to who's the judge and what are they looking at, and do they give more kudos to the pressure and control in the center of the ring, or do they like the person that's really being technical and watching for them getting those openings and just scoring them points? So it really just comes down to the judges. I mean, it was a very close fight. The knockdown definitely helped in Rex's favor. Rex's favor.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, I would say my usual line here, if it weren't for that knockdown, and even with the knockdown, there's a reason I have not signed up for my judge's license, guys. I would not be wanting to call it, but that credit to Rex for getting that, because it very well may have been the deciding factor in what was otherwise a neck and neck nail biting fight. So thank you, Zach. We appreciate the question. I'll take that time briefly just to say thanks to everyone, guys. We've got a lot of people watching right now on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Now, for everybody except for that last one, we can see you. And if you have something to say to us, we would love to put it on screen. We'd love to answer your questions. If you want to get some behind the scenes insight on this card, you are talking to the 3 commentators from Carnage Fight Series 3. So outside of the guys who are out there delivering those blows themselves, we had the best seats in the house. So we are here to give you the full recap and breakdown. So once again, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for being here. And even if you don't have a comment, you lurkers are cool too. You're my people too. I get it. I do that myself sometimes on YouTube. So here we go, guys. Round number 3, or fight number 3, I should say, was Dale Brown versus Peyton Spurlock. Clayton, yeah, we should probably start. This story starts last Monday, doesn't it?
It really does. Dale, for those of you who don't know, please go check out our press conference first and foremost. We had some of the guys on, and Dale Brown was one of those fighters that we had on. And he didn't know he was fighting Peyton, and he was like, well, I mean, I'm not really concerned. I was more concerned about having to fight Q or having to – who did Q fight?
It was John Bales.
John Bales.
It was John Bales was who he thought he was fighting, was what he said.
And he was like, yeah, I was way more concerned about John Bales or Q. Like, I don't care. I'm fighting Peyton. And I was talking to Q a little bit before the fight. And he was like, yeah, man, Peyton was not very happy about that.
No.
And they put on a show, you guys. That realistically, I'll just go ahead and say it. That was my fight of the night for sure. That was just, it was like the tire drill. Both guys have one foot in the tire. You stand and swing, and the first one to step out loses. Like both guys, foot on the gas, all 3 rounds.
Yeah. Sorry, Clayton, to cut you off, but I just wanted to go before the fight started. You guys weren't there, but we did our weigh-ins, and they both weighed in, and then I was like getting the face-off, and I was like, all right, come here, stand. We'll get one of you guys facing each other, and then they just went in. They went nose to nose, touching. Never broke eye contact, and then I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be a great fight. And then I take the picture, and I'm like, all right, you can face me. And they just stood there staring at each other, just John. I couldn't hear him, but I know it was some disrespectful stuff because it showed in the fight.
Yeah, it did. That first time they got broken up, remember, Peyton had some words. We couldn't hear it, but we could see it. Clayton, what were you saying?
Both guys scored knockdowns, and both guys, like right when they walked into the ring, were just Like Dale's eyes did not leave Peyton the entire time. Dale came out first, got in, loosened up a little bit, whatever. Peyton comes in and Dale's just like reminded me of like Alex Pereira, just standing there, just waiting for him. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
It was a real war, and so yeah, we'll have to talk about the outcome, right? So I believe Dale Brown won by decision, right? Correct me if I'm
Yep.
wrong here, guys.
Split decision, correct.
Split decision,
right?
yep.
And then this is where, and here's where you get some of that interesting behind the scenes stuff by having this podcast with us, because at one point after this fight, Zach comes up to me and is essentially like, "Hey, I'm gonna step in for you at one point during the intermission, because be a little inside baseball, right? We have a 10-minute intermission at half. There's 3 of us at the commentary table. That's usually a good time if you need to go take care of something, if you need to run off, go to the bathroom, whatever you got to do. That's the one time you're gonna have in the show to go do it." So Zach pops in, it's very rare for the promoter to come to you and be like, "I'm going to need you to get out." Usually it's like, "Hey, can you fill in for me so I can go do X during the intermission?" It's not usually, "Hey, I'm going to need that seat for a couple minutes during intermission." So I step aside, and then I come back to the news. So that's where I'll hand it to you, Wade, because you guys were there,
Yeah.
and then you had to fill me in afterwards. So what went down, as far as we know, in the aftermath of the Dale Payton fight?
Yeah, so Zach steps in and he's like, "Yeah, so surprising twist. This is what happens. This is when you have a tournament, you're fighting 2 times in one night. There's some things that can go crazy. There's X variables,
Live
X number
TV
of
in
variables."
general, for those who
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
also
it's just crazy.
multiplied
So
like times 10 when they're combat sports. Yeah.
they're absolutely war of a fight. He might have broken his foot, so unfortunately could not fight for the title fight. So we had to put Peyton in and give him a second chance. And then Dale will fight for the belt when he comes back. So he has that spot. He's rightfully earned it, and he can fight for that belt whenever he gets healthy. We don't know for sure if he broke it, but he was a warrior. He wanted to go back out there anyway, but obviously for the safety of the fighters, we're not going to let him go back out there if they're potentially injured. So
yeah,
he's a warrior. He's got a warrior spirit. So
100%. And I didn't even know that last detail. I assumed it, but when you hear about those things, but I didn't know that he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do it." So it was the doctors that stepped in then at that point, right? I'm assuming, and made that call. So yeah, it was a bit of a pivot, and it was certainly. It was a bit of a letdown to because of course you see that battle, those 2 guys go to war and he wins it, and so by the judge's decision, it's a split decision already, so it's razor thin, but that's our winner and we think we're going to see it. So it was a little bit of but there's just more chaos as well. It was just like, oh crap, okay, now we've got to pivot again and we're going to have a different title fight than we thought. Of course, we at that time that was our last, right? No, we still had one more. Sorry, we still had Quentin and John. So at the time we didn't know. Yeah, so we'll go in now to Quentin and John, because this is going to be where we have our first highlight reel of the night here. So let's see. I'm going to just go ahead and show you guys the finish, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so here we go. Here's 20 seconds from Quentin Richards versus Yes. Was from our I messed up. See, there we go. That's from our main event, or from the
I was a little
next
confused
round.
there, Kev. I'm not gonna lie.
I fumbled the bag on that one, boys. So let's talk about Quentin and John Bales. Another warrior in John Bales, guy stepping out there. Wade, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on that bout?
Yeah, so this is where you could say it kind of slowed down a little bit. It was more of a technical battle, but if you're a real combat sports athlete, just because it's not at a high speed, that it's not like foot on the gas. They're really technical, and they're throwing a lot of punches and kicks, and it was just not as fast paced, but very technical, and things were moving still. So I liked it. I liked it from a more like intellectual side of or kickboxing or combat sports aspect is like the fight IQ comes into play there.
Yeah, Clayton, what about you? What were your thoughts on Q versus John Bales?
I would definitely agree. Big respect to John Bales, first and foremost. He is 40 years old, got in there and gave Q a pretty good fight. Q looked great, though. He was doing a great job at mixing in kicks and punches. That sounds really basic because it is kickboxing, but a lot of times guys struggle with adapting to kicks. Even Lino talked about that leading up to his fight. Leg kicks can suck. They can hurt. So Q did a great job, looked great. And massive respect to John Bales. Like you said, Wade, a little bit slower, but that doesn't mean that the fight wasn't good. It was a very, very, very stylistically kind of pleasing matchup on the technical side for sure.
Yeah, which was also good. Sorry, Kev, cut you off. I was just gonna say, it's to be so technical too. Is like Q is more known for like his grappling and jiu-jitsu and stuff. So to see him come out there and be as technical in kickboxing, that shows his growth.
Yeah, and those leg kicks add up. This wasn't the only fight. There were several of them where you get to late round 2 into round 3. Those leg kicks can really start to impact not only your mobility, but then the power you can put behind even your punches. And so it was a very technical, fun fight to watch. And that at that point set our stage, right? So we had Quentin won that one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that decision as well? The one thing I didn't write on my card was the decisions down. I just that was they're circling things in a Sharpie.
Yep, it was a unanimous decision. And then once we had that set, that was we knew who was going into at that point, we knew who was going into the title fight, the 155 Andy belt.
We've got Lino says screw kicks, and Quentin is here. What's up, sir? Thank you for tuning in. He says my chin is feeling it today. I am not surprised. Well, hey, Quentin, stick around because I almost spoiled it, but we've got some of your highlights from your other fight here coming up soon. So as long as the producer can figure out when to show them, we might be okay. So which is a pretty good segue into our next fight because that is Chris Bailey versus Jack Chappie. Clayton, let's start with you. Jack Chappie's 16 years old. I'm just going to say that, and I'll let you say the rest.
So Jack Chappie, I actually got corrected. I asked Chelsea Connor, and she said he is 18.
18?
So that was wrong. Yeah, just turned 18 like a week before the show.
All right.
This was his...
Yeah, that was on the paper, though. All right, I'm taking a lot of L's here today, guys. All right.
Hey, the fighters filled it out themselves.
It said 16. I swear.
I can read. Damn it, most days.
Unless his handwriting just that bad.
But this was his first fight ever, and we've seen Chris Bailey before. He's been on some of the boxing shows we've done over at Venue 18, so not a cakewalk of an opponent by any means, but man, he went out there. He was pretty wild at the start. You could kind of tell that he didn't really understand the pace quite yet, but that second round, man, he turned it up and gave us one heck of a finish, which we'll show here in a couple minutes. But Wade, what are your thoughts on the debut of Jack Chappie?
Yeah, Jack, he had some spunk in him, right? So he came out there just hooks, just in your face. He reminded me of RJ Flores, just out there just going. Unfortunately, he couldn't. He had a personal issue. He had to back out of the tournament, which would have been added level of excitement too for this card. But yeah, Jack, he kind of reminds me of like RJ Flores, like just in your face. Wow, and that's how he came in. And then I think him being his debut, he's being so young. You just get excited to get those, and then you just go out there. You don't really know the pace yet, and then he kind of like settled into his nerves, and you saw him like really be more technical after that. But yeah, all I can say is he had some spunk, and he was out there to put on a show.
And once he did get that pace settled down, this was the show that he put on.
Oh, a spinning. Nice spinning. Good defense. Thomas. Right. Jack Chappie's corner. Encouraging him to press on here.
Chris Bailey almost looked out on it.
Oh, that one down. Okay.
And there it was. You hear us. You know, we know those guys. So, Clayton, you saw it live. What were your thoughts on the finish there?
Like I said, right before he went down, Chris Bailey looked out on his feet. He threw that spinning kick, but then Jack Chappie stepped in and just started catching him. Nothing that Chris was doing was stopping the flurry of punches coming his way. And when he went down, he was down for a minute, you guys. Jack hit him pretty hard.
Yeah.
That's not one of those phantom knockouts that you'll see Ryan Garcia do in boxing sometimes. That was just the force of a punch just putting the guy out. It was crazy. It was very cool to watch. Good for him on his debut for sure to get a knockout win like that.
Yep. Straight club to the head. So no other way to say it is he just put everything in that right hand and put his opponent down. So kudos to him.
Yeah, heck of a way to get things started. And shout out to Chris Bailey. We've seen him fight a couple of times. He does have an entertaining offensive style to watch. So I hope we get to see more Chris Bailey fights. You know, I'm a sucker for a spinning back fist or a spinning back kick. I really am. So I look forward to seeing him fight again. But that takes us to our next fight, the Great Thomas War. Tom versus Thomas. Tom Abruzzi versus Thomas Wayne,
Batman's dad, ladies and gentlemen.
Of Gotham City fame.
Yeah, that was a joke of the night. Is Batman's dad.
Listen, this was a wild fight. I think, full disclosure, I think I want to point out that Tom A has worked on a couple of other cars before. He's done some he's been a production assistant. I think he's been a cameraman for us before. So it was a great thing. You know, we aren't allowed to play favorites out there on that commentary table, but it's cool to see a peer of mine, you know, back there, somebody from our production team go in there, go through a fight camp, and obviously I would have been happy for him regardless. Just to go do something like that is amazing that these guys do it. But he gets to celebrate with a victory. Wade, what were your thoughts on Tom versus Tom? I mean, Thomas Wayne, to his credit, I mean, he stood in there. These guys battled. It was a good fight. Wade, what do you think about it?
Yeah. So, yeah, like you said, full disclosure, Tom he's helped out with Carnage Media and been a cameraman and with the production team. And so he did that and he like, oh man, I would like to do this. And then he also wanted to lose weight. So this is like the perfect storm for him. He's like, oh, I want to do it. And at the same time, I can get healthy. So he lives like an hour 15 away from Findlay, where we were based out of. And he drove down after work and he would train like 2 to 3 times a week. And he only trained for like 4 or 5 months, maybe. And he stepped in for his debut and he lost I think he said he was like 265 and he weighed in about 2.
Yeah, it was something like
a lot of weight.
226, 230. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember, but he lost a lot of weight. Like he stuck with it, and I think it was good for him. And he came in there and put his heart out there. He just went out there and fought. With just a few months of training, Thomas Wayne, I know he said that he trained in Taekwondo, so you really saw that stance in Thomas Wayne, where he was kind of like more linear and technical and trying to pick his shots. And I think that's what helped out Tom. Tom, he was just excited to be in there and just wanted to just
man
play hands.
He was watching Jason Thompson with a pen and paper early on. He's like, I'm going to just keep coming forward.
Yep, that's what he did. What do you think, Clayton?
Like I always say, when the big boys step into the ring, literally anything can happen, you know. And I was very I was like pleasantly, I'm not going to say surprised, but it was an entertaining fight. You know what I mean? Both guys definitely had their moments. Tom, Batman's dad, Thomas Wayne, definitely looked like he almost put Tom out a couple of times. Tom was, he looked pretty shaky. He would bounce off the ropes. Yep. But again, Tom would pop back and hit him with a couple of good shots up top, and Thomas Wayne would almost go down. So very, very even fight, I would say. I do think that the judges got it right with giving Swamper the nod, but overall, like I said, it's always entertaining when the big boys step into the ring.
Oh yeah. I think, like you said, I think the judges got it right. I think Thomas Wayne, he had a higher percentage of like landing his shots, but he threw so much fewer shots than Tom A did, or Swamper. I like to call him Swamper. That's how I met him, and so I call him Swamper. So yeah, he just threw an abundance of shots and was in his face. Like, he controlled the pressure and everything. So I think, the slight edge went to him. So I think the judges got it right. And congrats to him for his debut.
Yeah, it's good to see a debut win for sure.
Yeah,
100%. And he said next he's looking to get down to 185. He mentioned that he might want to try MMA next. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see what's next for Tom A. But we've got a question here from Noob in the in our YouTube chat. Says CFS heavyweight title ? So I don't know if that means for Tom specifically, but hey, I mean, we got to get ourselves a heavyweight title, right? We got a few more titles coming, maybe. In what's that tournament in CFS 4 about anyway, Wade? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So CFS 4, we just dropped out there to try to look for 170s and do a 170-pound tournament. Heavyweight might be on the list. We don't know yet. It may happen. So if you're heavyweight out there, let us know. If there's an abundance of you, we can make it happen right now.
Let's go. Hey, also hit me up if you're interested in playing MMA basketball, but that's unrelated. But if you want to play full contact basketball, email me. So after our intermission, okay, nice. And we've got clarification here. I want to go back. I love it. The community is answering their own questions in here, but I just want to call it out in chat. Zach wanted to know about Jack's nickname. It is from The Incredibles. Boom. I love it. And Zach says CFS 4 170 and heavyweight tournament. I don't know. Sounds like a good idea to me. Well, thank you guys for sitting through that brief intermission. Right after the CFS 3 intermission, we had the 145 title fight, which was Rex versus Connor Smith. I can't remember who I called on last, so I'm so sorry. But Clayton, we'll start with you this time. What were your thoughts on the 145 title fight?
Yeah, both guys came to brawl. That's for sure. Both guys, you could tell, really wanted to get that belt. Rex did a great job, though, and this was the difference maker in this fight, ultimately, in my opinion, of just using his size. You know, he really reminded me of like a Tyson Fury-esque, I'm going to lean on you, I'm going to put my weight on you, I'm going to tire you out, and I'm going to pick you apart. And I think ultimately that's what happened. But shout out to Connor Smith. He came to fight. You know what I mean? That kid has a ton of heart, and I can't wait. I hope he comes back. I hope that we can bring him back, because hopefully we can find him a lighter opponent. But
yeah,
you know,
he joked about putting weights in his pockets and fighting at 155 if he had to, but let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Love to see him just be able to find an opponent in his own weight class. It's something he and Street Jesus know too much about, right?
I would love to fight. I'd love to do that 125-pound tournament too, but there's a lot. It's hard to find 125-pounders that are serious and not scared when you see Street Jesus fighting on our cards and doing his thing. So,
dude, don't tell him I said this, because he's probably not watching live. But I'm not getting in a fight with Street Jesus. Are you kidding me? You don't have to be 125 to not want to fight him. All right. So, Alex over on Twitch, thank you for the question, says title defenses on CFS4. I don't know. Is the time going to be lined up for that, Wade? What do you think? We're going to have some title defenses lined up for the next card?
I mean, I would love it. So I would love to do some title defenses, especially get Dale Brown on there to fight Q and to see that fight. I think that would be really good. Q did mention that he might be turning pro before that, so hopefully we can get that in before he turns pro.
Hey, yeah, you might. It's true. We're gonna have to hustle up. Man's on a mission when we don't have much time. But so final thoughts there, Rex and Connor on the 145. I thought it was a great fight. I look forward to seeing. Speaking of title defenses, if we get the chance, hopefully we get to see that title defense. That takes us to our co-main event, which spoiler alert for those of you who've been watching. I've got the highlight.
I just realized I spoiled that one.
Yeah, I wasn't going to acknowledge it. But since it's been spoiled, let's not keep the good folks at home waiting. Look at this. Zach says Q defends his belt against Dale Brown, maybe CFS4. So now it's been double, triple spoiled. I'm just doing this now because I really want to play the clips. Here we go.
Yeah, snaps a couple of jabs in there, then goes low.
Oh, stiff right hands from Q.
Ooh, nice right from Q.
There you go.
There's another knockdown for Quentin.
And there you have. Hey, shout out to our cameramen, by the way. Did a wonderful job on Saturday. So shout out to you, Noah. And Wade, help me out.
Yeah, Alex.
Thank you, Wade and Alex. Yep. Thank you very much. Both you guys are awesome. They did a phenomenal job. Clayton, what are your thoughts there on the co-main, Quentin versus Peyton? It was a great fight. I know that much, but what were your thoughts?
Overall, like we said, Dale Brown obviously broke his foot, and him and Peyton were in an absolute war before that. And I think that we were definitely seeing the effects of that in the fight. Not to take anything away from Q, though. Q looked sharp. He was really landing. He was landing pretty much everything. We saw in those clips that 1-2 was really finding a way home. Three total knockdowns scored. Overall, Q had a great night. Looked great, and very happy that he's our 155-pound champion. Hoping we can get him a title defense before he turns pro. But definitely had a great performance.
Oh yeah. For
phenomenal.
Sure.
Man of many talents, by the way. Hopefully we can get him sitting at the commentary desk one more time too before he turns pro, or maybe even after he turns pro. Didn't
he tell you that he was gonna join the ADCC tournament for jiu-jitsu?
Yes.
Whoa,
it's
nice.
It's Abu Dhabi combat something. Q, I think you're still here, Q. Help me out in the comments, please. But it's this big jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah.
He's going to the trials for it. A big name in grappling is Gordon Ryan. I'm sure some of our viewers have heard about Gordon Ryan. He competes in this. All the big jiu-jitsu guys. It's a big jiu-jitsu tournament. All the big guys compete in it.
Like the who's who is all in there. So
yes.
I mean, I watched a couple clips before. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a real deal. Holyfield.
This is it for jiu-jitsu. This is as big as it gets. So we're pulling for you, Q. Good luck in a couple weeks. Stay healthy, all that good stuff. And you definitely got yourself some fans here at Carnage Media because Saturday night was so much fun.
It was phenomenal. So I couldn't thank you guys, like all the fighters that stepped up and fought. So can't thank you guys enough to making that show happen. As like you guys said, that's my favorite and best card I've been a part of. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys, you all took a chance with us. It hasn't been something that's not done very frequently, and it's something that's not done all the time. When the most common reference I heard was, it reminds me of UFC 1, it's like, oh, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since we've done some of that kind of stuff, huh? So no, mad respect and all the appreciation in the world to all of the fighters. And then, there's just also, I can't deny the additional layer. There's some fighters we are blessed to be around a lot. We see them a lot more on their cards. Guys like Lino that have fought. Lino was on the very first card that I ever called. And then guys like Q, especially, who've stepped up when we've been shorthanded and be like, oh yeah, I'll commentate. Why not? I wanted to take a second to show an extra moment of appreciation for all you guys, because it's been a great thing to be a part of, and that card was wonderful. And that takes us to the main event, which was not to disappoint us. We talked about, Clayton mentioned it before. Last week we did a pre-fight interview with several fighters from the card, but the week before that we had our main event interview, and we want to talk about best shows in company history. I would say, as far as main event interviews, that a new bar has been set with what Lino and Mike did in getting us geared up for this fight. It's not like, I love this business, guys. We do it's not every day that you kind of get in fan mode, right? Where you're like, I can't wait to watch this fight. I was excited to watch these fights, and especially this fight right here. So Wade, we'll start with you. You've been part of building this whole thing up. Talk about whatever you want, the build up, how these two guys were, the fight itself. Floor is yours, sir.
So I guess it starts with that interview, right? So they're on there and they're just talking smack back and forth. Lino said he was gonna bless, and Mike, he's like, "There's no way. There's no way. I'm too experienced." And they're just going back. They had a lot of confidence in themselves, and when that happens, it's gonna be a good fight. So it goes into the main event, and no, before we get into the fight, we did the weigh-ins, and Lino does a lot of psychological warfare, and just he's eating because he doesn't have to worry about his weight. He's jumping up a weight class, so he's eating right before weighing in, and it's like, "Hey, do you want a chicken wing? Do you want a chicken wing?" Oh, I bet you can't. just going at him. Man. Meanwhile, Mike, he had a hard cut, and you saw the effects on it. But kudos to him. I really want to say thank you to him for accepting the fight and being able and cutting down to make the fight happen, because without him, that fight wouldn't have happened. It was so hard to find a fight for Lino, and Mike really stepped up. He did a hard weight cut. I think he said he was cutting, and then he had like 10 pounds in like 2 days he had to cut. And so he did it. He made it happen. And then when it came out fight day and they coming out, he came in fired up, ready to go. He got his rehydrating plan. I don't know what he did, but he was ready to go. And you got into the fight, and they were exchanging back and forth a lot. And it was pretty even for the first minute and a half. But Lino caught him with a really nice shot in the corner and knocked him down. So I don't know. Do we got that clip?
We do have the clip. It's probably time, huh? We'll get the clip, and then we'll talk about we'll get Clayton's thoughts on the fight here too as well. So here we go. Here's our main.
Peppering with some combos. Lino. Oh, nice right. Lino. Wobbles right. Oh my goodness.
Walks out of that corner. Once again, our pro fight of the night, ladies and gentlemen. No, he.
And there it was. Yeah, was that the one you were talking about, Wade?
Oh yeah. Lino has some stone hands.
It was very impressive. Clayton, what were your thoughts? You just saw the highlight. You saw it there live. We were calling it. What are your thoughts on the main event?
That first knockdown was nasty. There's no other way to put it. And like we said, a lot of tension in the weigh-in. When I first walked into the venue, Mike walked in maybe 5 minutes after I got there, and Lino was in there, and he yelled, "Mike, there's levels to this." And I was like, "Man, they're about to fight right now. We still got 3 hours before the card starts." But overall, it was a fun fight. Like we said, shout out to Mike for stepping up. He came to fight. He looked ready to go, but it was just Lino's night. Lino pretty much controlled from start to finish. Finished it up early in the second round, like you guys saw. But yeah, Lino's our new professional 135-pound champion, and absolutely earned it. Shout out Lino. He had a great performance.
He did.
Yeah, yes, he did. Shout out to him. and we're going to show it one more time. Don't worry. My thoughts are at the very end of the podcast. I'm going to just show all the highlights again one more time because, I mean, I like to see it.
We have to.
We have to at least while we're here talking about it. Let's just show it one more time. Here was our main event. Congrats again to Marcelino.
Peppering with some combos. Lino. Oh, nice right. Lino. Wobbles right. Oh, my goodness.
Walks out of that corner. Once again, our pro fight of the night, ladies and gentlemen. And
So there we have it. Yeah, wonderful fight. A great main event. Way to send us all home. And here's Lino still here. He's in the chat. I looked him in the eyes. I told him second round stoppage. Well, hey, that's where he said, hey, great photo, by the way. I like that Facebook photo. Another shout out to cameraman Noah. I think he snapped that photo right after the bout. So took him to the corner and stopped him, says Lino. So yeah, great job again. Congratulations. I want to see Mike fight again. I know we mentioned that. I'd love to see him get another crack at it, but this is Lino's moment. Congratulations. You know what? And I said this about a month or two ago when we were looking for 125ers to fight Lino. So I think it feels only appropriate that I should say it again right now. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. And right now, the man at 135 Carnage Fight Series is Marcelino Rangel. So get this man a new challenger, Wade. All right.
Man, I told him right after the fight, I said, you're making my job hard because we couldn't find you a fight in the first place, and now you're gonna go and make a highlight reel like that. So
he said, say it one more time. This one's for you, brother. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. Woo! And that I couldn't segue any better, could I, guys? To the Wrestling Minute. Oh, this is brought to you by threat of my untimely death by a bald man who looks far too much like me, and he might be able to get away with it. In fact,
I was going to say, Kev.
I was mistaken for this person live at the show today.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
So brought to you by Carnage Media. Wrestling Minute, guys. Yesterday was AEW's Wrestle Dream, which I believe is kind of like their WrestleMania, but they also were just in Wembley a month ago and then had another pay-per-view a week after that. And then they had an event called the Grand Slam, which was on free TV. So I can't really figure any of it out. But what I do know is that at the end of Wrestle Dream, one Mr. Adam Copeland, better known to wrestling fans around the world as Edge, made his AEW debut, saving Darby Allin and Sting from an attack from his former tag partner, Christian Cage. So there we go, guys. Edge is back. He, for those of you who don't know, he basically left the WWE because he had to retire about a decade ago with a neck injury, came out of retirement, and then the WWE used him for a few big matches, and then they just kind of bring him out once every 3 months to do something. And, you know, you come out of a life-threatening, career-threatening injury like that. They tell you can never do something again, and then you can do it, and you're damn near 50 years old. You're running out of time. So he went to this other company so he could go and be a full-time wrestler again, be a weekly part of that show. So my question for you guys and the folks at home still watching, are you an Edge fan? Do you have any memories of those early 2000s WWE days that you'd want to talk about with Edge, and anybody you'd like to see him fight? And then what normally happens in the Wrestling Minute is people in the comments just name their favorite wrestler, and then we can, enjoy some member berries and all say, oh yeah, I remember that guy. That guy was cool. So fire away, chat. Let me know. Wade, do you know who Edge is? Do you know what I'm talking about? Did this ever meet your wrestling timeline?
I heard the name, but I can't put a face to it.
Alex
I'm old school. I'm like, me, I'm WWM, WCW days.
This was like, he's part of, what did they call him? The SmackDown 6 or whatever. So he got big when they first started making SmackDown a thing. What about you, Clayton? You know anything about Edge?
Kev, you talked about like wrestling before we started today. We were obviously like running through what we're gonna do, and Kev was like, "With Edge coming back, it felt like 2003 again." Kev, I was born in 2003. Like, you know what I mean? I got nothing. I'm not gonna lie, I got nothing.
That's fair. No, that's funny. Well, Lino's got a good one here. WrestleMania when he speared Jeff Hardy. That is a great one on the ladder match. That's kind of what they're known for. So back in the day, when you think of like the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian were usually that other tag team that were there doing the very first TLC match, right? That was them. So yeah, Mick Foley, Edge, WrestleMania from Q. That's a good one too. I love that. Alex here says the Edge and Lita days were the best. So that was a little bit of sometimes you work yourself into a shoot. And so at one point, Matt Hardy gets injured, and his best friend Edge travels with Matt Hardy's wife Lita on the road. So the wrestlers travel together. It's a thing it happens in our business too, right? People save gas money. Well, after a few months of being travel buddies, old Edge and Lita start kicking it off, and Matt Hardy loses his shit about it, goes public on Twitter, basically like calls her a whore on Twitter. So the WWE fires him for acting out. So then the public perception is basically this dude gets cheated on by his best friend, and then his company fires him because he has a problem with it. Now, obviously, they fired him because he made it public, and they're not going to stand for that. But then what ended up happening is he becomes hot over this because everybody's pissed, like, oh, how did this guy got wronged? And so the WWE re-signs him, and Edge and Lita become a couple on TV as well. And their whole thing is that they make out in front of people. There was this weird scene where they like pretended to have sex on TV. It was like late 90s Raw, when they were really, really pushing all the boundaries on television. And so they hire Matt Hardy to come back, and then they just proceed to have Edge beat him every time. They just like, it was just to rub salt in the wound, man. Oh,
that's
hilarious.
Cold, man.
That it rings a bell now. Now that you go through all the nostalgia, now I'm starting to remember him. But I guess I was just more of a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan that I didn't care about anybody else.
No, it's worth it. I mean, it's that's fair, I guess. Because it was a time. I was a fan at a young age. I got out of wrestling for a long time, and then when I went to college, in our dorm rooms, we only had a few channels that were free, and one of those channels happened to be the channel that had Raw on, and it was awful. We're talking about, for the guys who know, we're talking about Spirit Squad. This is when they brought back DX, but they were old man DX, and they were fighting 5 male cheerleaders. It was really bad. And so I didn't watch it again for several years. And then one day I turn on the TV while I'm traveling with some buddies, and I see Roman Reigns get a bucket of dog food dumped on his head. And I said, you know what? I'm still good. No, it was actually the pandemic that brought me back, because I used to just get a free month of the WWE app and just watch WrestleMania for $10 or whatever.
Yeah.
I just like, all right, $10 is worth me watching WrestleMania this year. But after the pandemic, I started watching some more of the pay-per-views, and it started out as one of those like Tommy Wiseau's The Room. It's so bad it's good. Like you watch it to be like, man, what are they doing? But I can't deny it. I've fallen back in love with the squared circle. So there we go. An extended wrestling minute to make up for lost time. So unfortunately, I don't even know if Zach is here. He didn't get in on it. So. But that does it for me. Thank you all, as always, for entertaining me during our wrestling minute. That's all I have. That's all we had for the docket today, I believe. Any last questions and comments? Get them in while we do our farewells. Nice. All right. He did. They say as long as you have an audience of 1, it's worth doing. So the wrestling minute lives on for another week. But Clayton, let's start with you. We'll do we'll sign off. Where can the folks at home find you?
Well, before we jump into that, Kev, I got to say, when you were talking about watching wrestling in college and you talked about like watching it in your dorm, I immediately was like, oh yeah, they're pulling the mattresses off the bunks. They're getting ready to go. Yeah, I definitely didn't do anything like that when I was in the dorms, but
Yeah, me either. Me neither.
Nope. No, we
no,
talking about,
no,
man.
I was in bed by 7:30 every night, Mom. Yeah. But I just thought that was kind of funny. But you all can find me at cscalina12 on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And make sure to follow me and the boys. Hottest takes the internet has ever seen. Brady's been hyping up a fantasy football one that he's got. Brady's team, a guy I do my podcast with, got beat by like 57 points or something like that this week. He's been doing making a bunch of trades today, and he's been hyping it up. He's like, I really think you're gonna like it. It's about the Patriots. And I'm like, well, I already don't like it. So
Thanks, I hate it.
So make sure to follow us on all our social medias at Hot Take Sports 16.
Awesome.
Thank you. Hey, Wade, you are up next. And also Rex is here. Rex is in the chat. So thank you, Rex. We missed you. We talked about you earlier at the beginning of the show. So go check it out. But thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you having here. I don't know what question he's talking about, but if somebody in chat can figure it out for me, let me know. We'll try to answer it.
Yeah.
Wade, where can the folks at home find you? Well,
At,
not here, apparently.
Yeah,
No,
Carnage Media pay-per-view on Facebook, Instagram, Carnage Media on Discord if you want to get in behind the scenes before anything pops off on the other social media. Twitter, Carnage Media pay-per-view there. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to see the fights. We put them out after so long, and then you can watch them there, or you can purchase them on our website as well. So Facebook. So yeah, that's where you can find us. Keep up to date.
I will say, even I utilize our YouTube channel to watch some film on guys before we go out. I'll go through and see if I recognize any of the names, and I'll click through those real quick. So make sure that you guys go utilize that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And hey, you shouted out that Carnage Media YouTube channel. I looked at it today. We're creeping up on 200 subs. So,
Yes, thank you all.
We appreciate you so much for that. It's been one heck of a ride. And as far as I go, you can see the Twitter right there on the screen. It's at @KevNevick_. You can also find the rest of the crew at Bite Size Sports. We've got live shows 5 nights a week. Between our two networks, Bite Size Sports and Dweeb, which is where we talk about Star Wars, Marvel, movies, comics, TV shows, all that stuff. So we got NFL show tomorrow night, Star Wars on Wednesday, The Bounce on Thursday nights, all that stuff. Just go follow me there. I won't take up any more of your time here. But if you want to talk about sports or nerd stuff, I'm your guy. And find me on Twitter or Facebook, Kev Nevick. So that's all I've got, gentlemen. Thank you all again so much for tuning in, and for all the fighters who have tuned in, and your teams and the crew members who have tuned in, just everybody. We thank you so much for being a part of this community. And I thank you all for letting me into this community. Like I said, coming up on my first year here, maybe I'm just getting a little nostalgic, but very happy to be here. Thank you all so much. And until next time, there will be carnage. We need a sign off. Do you have one, Clayton? What's a good the carnage?
Honestly, there will be carnage. Is good. It's good. It's a good place to start. But next week we got to have one.
Yeah, we need one.
We need
a tagline.
Let us know in the comments. Let us know if you guys have any suggestions.
Well, I'll make you the producer on this bottom scroll here. Say produced by you. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.